This guy! Oh, no! What? What are you saying? Okay. This is something I maybe I even like gonna agree with. It's a very, very loaded way of presenting it. So does this guy not understand what a draft is? Oh no. What are we watching, man? After he does a whole speech about propaganda at the start. Oh, this guy! Oh my fucking god! This guy! Oh no! No! He has an opinion on the Ukraine war! Oh no! This guy is actually like one of the worst fucking people on YouTube. Like literally one of the worst fucking human beings on YouTube. I don't know if he's autistic or not. He's just like a person. He's like the most quintessential computer science moron, yeah. Oh god. God.
I stand with Russia. Am I allowed to say that out here, or is somebody going to cancel me if I express some political view that is
millionaire, by the way, ex-Google tech lead, by the way. Yeah. Yeah, if you've never watched this guy's videos are all like him being like, yeah, I'll teach you how to be a millionaire. I'm an ex-Google tech lead. He's like the fucking Omega STEM lord. Jesus Christ. At least it's only 9 minutes long, so.
Contrary to the public narrative. You know, war is propaganda. Propaganda is the most important weapon out there, so it depends which side have you been brainwashed to believe, or are we all going to just simply assume that Russia's the bad guy, right? That's the popular narrative.
Also, who the fuck? What's with all the RGB keyboards turned on in the background? I understand you're a keyboard enthusiast. He's like cool, but why are they all hooked up? Why are they all lighting up? It's actually a pretty cool decoration, but this exact kind of guy who would be into mechanical keyboards, yeah.
Around here. And so this is what doesn't quite sit well with me, which is that most people out here have absolutely no clue what Russia and Ukraine are even fighting about, right? You've got Ukraine crying, and have you ever been in an argument with somebody who's crying? You can't win because people are just saying, oh, look, that person's crying. Why are you so mean? Why do you have to be a bully? That person's crying. As if simply by having somebody crying for help, that they're automatically...
Okay, it took me like 30 seconds to understand what the fuck he's talking about, because every time he was saying crying, I thought he said Ukraine. Like, when that person's Ukraine, you can't win the argument. I'm like, what? What? What are you saying? Okay. You crying? Yeah, you crying? You crying, Ukraine? Don't be jealous, Mr. Only One RGB strip. I am jealous. Like my keyboard isn't even, dude, my keyboard isn't even real RGB. It's just basic bitch lights. This guy is obviously the superior content creator.
Be the victim. Now, maybe, yes, Ukraine may be the victim, but let's take a look at what happened. I put out this tweet here where I said Ukraine may deserve to fail because they banned men ages 18 to 60 from leaving the country for suspending their bank withdrawals to try to protect their own currency from a bank run and from collapsing. And I believe that in many ways, the blood is now on the hands of the
Does this guy not understand what a draft is? Does he not understand what happens when your country gets invaded? Like, I understand. I wouldn't want to get drafted either. I wouldn't want to go to war. I wouldn't want to die or kill other people. But you
Ukrainian government, because people want to leave. They're trying to get out of the entire region, and Ukraine is saying, you sit here and you fight for me. You try to save me. They're trying to get out, escape, and just seek a better future for themselves, a better life, and yet their own government is trapping them. They're escaping from their own government as much as from the Russian government. And you know,
no! They're escaping from the invasion. They're not escaping from the Ukrainian government. They're escaping from the invasion. No Ukrainian refugee is there like, oh yeah, I'm running away from my oppressive the oppressive Ukrainian regime. What the fuck?
Lincoln here said that those who deny freedom for others deserve it not for themselves. Quick pause. This video is brought to you by myself, DeFiPro.dev. This is a new online course and
of course he's shilling some crypto. Oh no, we got the mechanical keyboards, we got the crypto shill. Look, usually when I watch someone's video, I leave the ads on out of principle, as like from one content creator to another. Big Jordan B. Peterson fan too, by the way, not surprising. People say he's just a troll, could be.
And so when I started looking into this, what percentage of Ukrainians actually want to join Russia? Well, most don't really seem to care, right? Some are pro-Russia, some are pro-Western. Most people just
True, you know, when something happens, some people are pro, some people are against. So it just doesn't matter, right? If some people are pro, some people are against, it just doesn't matter. That's a really good point, man.
Want a better life, and they're not necessarily going to...
Oh yeah, and of course the Donetsk autonomous region flag as the profile pic. Yes, a very unbiased answer. He skipped the first answer, by the way. Yeah.
To let their own political beliefs get in the way of a better life for them. They just want a nice life. And so if a company in Russia were to offer them maybe double the income, double the salary, well, then they would migrate over to Russia. And if their life is better in Ukraine...
Oh yeah, I mean the economy in Russia is booming right now. I would love to get to one of those juicy Russian jobs they're invading Ukraine to give the Ukrainians. Wow, yeah, that's I get my political views from Quora as well, by the way. Pretty sure that person he was quoted on Quora said they worked at a Russian intelligence agency too. Wait, did they? They had the flag. Oh no. I didn't even... Oh no. What are we watching, man? After he does a whole speech about propaganda at the start.
Better life, and they're not necessarily going to let their own political beliefs get in the way of a better life for them. They just want a nice life. And so if a company in Russia were to offer them maybe double the income, double the salary, well, then they would migrate over to Russia. And if their life is better in Ukraine, maybe they'll stay there. And then there's some hardcore nationalists on either side who are going to just stay in the country and fight to their death for it. But most people aren't necessarily going to be like that. And so when you're out...
Check the comments he skipped over. Ukrainians do not want to join the Russian Federation. According to a December 2016 survey of both Ukrainians and Russians, around 3% of Ukrainians wanted to join the Russian Federation, down from about 24% in 2009. Nearly 50% of Ukrainians wanted closed borders with Russia, compared to fewer than 20% of them before the 2014 attack. Specifically, by 2014 attack, what they mean is the annexation of Crimea.
And I started looking into this. What percentage of Ukrainians actually want to join Russia? Well, most don't really seem to care, right? Some are pro-Russia, some are pro-Western. Most people just want a better life, and they're not necessarily going to let their own political beliefs get in the way of a better life for them. They just...
Dude, I'm gonna make all my political statements like this now. You know, are Nazis bad? Well, you know, some people are pro-Nazis, some people are against Nazis. So, you know, doesn't really matter, right? It's kind of a mixed bag.
A nice life. And so if a company in Russia were to offer them maybe double the income, double the salary, well, then they would migrate over to Russia. And if their life is better in Ukraine, maybe they'll stay there. And then there's some hardcore nationalists on either side who are going to just stay in the country and fight to their death for it. But most people aren't necessarily going to be like that. And so when you're out there virtue signaling, saying that I'm wrong, that I'm a terrible person, and that Ukrainian people must fight for their independence, and yet you're sitting there, you yourself, you're not willing to fight physically. You rather live a better life, right? That's where...
Okay, first off, if you have no military training and you're thinking, if you have no military training and you're thinking of supporting Ukraine, the last thing you should be doing is traveling to Ukraine to join the Foreign Legion. Don't do it. It's so fucking stupid. It's so fucking stupid. If you really, really want to support them, you can... If you live in Eastern Europe, you can volunteer to help refugees. If you don't live nearby, just give money, dude. Your Western money is going to be worth so much more in Polish zlotys, in Ukrainian... I'm sorry, I forgot their like currency, like... Just send money to a trustworthy organization. I don't think the people going over to join the Foreign Legion were that smart to begin with. It depends. I mean, there are some like ex-military people who actually know what they're going into. But yes, a lot of the people that we're seeing returning now, or like articles written about their regrets, they're obviously people who... I know when I read articles about people going to the Foreign Legion who didn't sign up at the embassy. They thought they could show up in a war-torn country and just, oh, hey, I want to join. go to a fucking embassy and sign up. Like, there's a process for that, dude. Holy shit. Holy shit. This video is triggering me. And this is so fucking stupid. You can there's an entire difference. Another point that he's completely missing there. There's such a big difference between there's such a big difference between defending your own country and supporting people in the defense of their own country. As that's one thing. Volunteering to go help defend a foreign country is a completely whole other thing. You cannot equivocate the two. Well, that's the purpose of the video, to trigger people, so he succeeded. Yeah.
Worth more than independence of Ukraine for you. So if you really care, why don't you put on some boots and go over to Ukraine, pick up a gun, and fight for Ukrainian governments? Let's take a look here. Twitter says it will consider censoring.
This guy uses every logical fallacy in the toolbox. Yeah.
War. So cancel culture is now coming in censoring emerging narratives about the Ukrainian war. So cancel culture. Twitter says it will consider censoring emerging narratives.
Oh, this guy's uses from zerohedge.com. Tyler Durden is my favorite journalist, by the way. One of my mom's friends who works in the medical field is now in Ukraine in a supermarket converted into a hospital. That's poggers. By Tyler Durden. And Tyler Durden is writes like 90% of the articles on Zero Hedge. For anyone unfamiliar with Zero Hedge, it's this like weirdo fringe media site that's like alt-right adjacent, presenting itself as like an alternative news site. It's all about like crypto. It's like shitting on fiat currency. It buys into a bunch of like different conspiracy theories. Oh yeah, so this friend is doing so much in a minute compared to the dude you're watching. The dude I'm watching is pro-Russian, so at least he's consistent about his bullshit. I guess he's not volunteering to fight for Russia, which you can also do.
Narratives about the Ukrainian war. So cancel culture is now coming into play, where we're going to try to shape the narratives here. Propaganda at play. Instagram as
why call it cancel culture? Just call it censorship. There is already a term for it. Calling it cancel culture is just virtue signaling to the culture war dipshits out there. It doesn't fucking matter. It's censorship. And yes, it's censorship. Russia Today is censored. A bunch of other news sources are censored. Well, I've said already, I forgot who said that quote. The first casualty in time of war is truth. But the censorship is not necessarily at the disservice of truth either. But we can go back and forth. I'm not necessarily a fan of censorship either, but it is what it is. Ukraine is being canceled, by the way, by a real war. I think that's more important. True, yeah. And by the way, Ukraine is being canceled by an actual war.
well, Facebook has also joined in. YouTube will also probably start playing a role here, where we're going to just start censoring information about this war so that we can shape the narratives around here. Facebook has already started restricting the official accounts of 4 Russian media outlets. Meanwhile, over on Instagram, there's a lot of influencers, such as myself, who are capitalizing on the war. You've got people posting fake imagery from video games, even pretending that these scenes are from Ukraine in order to capture eyeballs and gain more followers on Instagram. One Instagrammer says, "What I'm trying to do is get as many followers as possible by using my platform and skills." The accounts are what are becoming known as war pages on Instagram, with shocking battleground footage and videos depicting violence.
Were you watching this guy? He did a video on Ukraine, Dragopie. He did a fucking video on Ukraine called "Why I Stand with Russia." Also, honestly, I have to grant him this. This is something... There are 2 videos. Jesus Christ. This is something I maybe I even like gonna agree with. I do think there's worth in all of the media channels like publicizing all information there is about the war, etc. But the whole like war footage, war porn aspect of it is something that makes me deeply uncomfortable. This is why I've already asked before on I've already asked before on stream. If you link me tweets, if you link me stuff, I I don't want war footage. I don't want to look at a tank blowing up. I don't want to look at a plane being shot down. That doesn't inform me on how the war is going. That doesn't inform me on why what's happening, on what should happen, etc., etc. Now we have done some like viewing of war footage. We viewed the live stream of the Zaporizhzhia power plant, for example, being attacked. I'm sorry to say, for informational purposes, when we were watching it, we were uncovering what was happening live. We were covering it live. I felt more like a maybe it's pretentious of me to say it this way. I felt more like a journalist covering live events than someone engaging in like war porn, basically. We weren't focusing on like zooming in on the tracers of fire. We were looking up articles about what was going on, looking up the IAEA statements, and just having the footage in the background to see how the fire in the power plant was going. I don't know. Yeah, this is something that has made me extremely uncomfortable in chat, and I understand that. Like, obviously, like JB Pratt, your Streams chat is like your domain and whatever. But like in my Twitch chat, it's something I don't really want to see. I don't mind if people share it between each other. If people want that, there's plenty of subreddits for it. You can indulge in that wherever in plenty of places. But yeah, it's not my thing shtick either. He did more than one. He has like 3 videos. He apologized in one of his latest videos. Really? I'm confused. We watched a video of war footage just yesterday, lol. Which one was it? I'm just confused. What is considered war porn? Oh, I guess we watched the video that was analyzing war footage, right? Are you talking about that? Yeah. So for me, watching this video was different. For me personally, you can disagree if you want to. For me, watching this video was different because we were watching it for the analysis. We weren't watching it for the clips of like, what was it? Yeah, he was like showing off a tank being shot at. We were watching it for the analysis of what was going of someone who's actually a military professional of what's going on in Ukraine. And he uses those clips to analyze, to get a better idea of what's going on. But I would have been just as interested in the video if those clips weren't there. He just uses them for he just uses them to support like an analysis. It's not breaking news footage, right? Well, it's not breaking news footage either. But that I don't know if it's. In the end of the day, the thing that bothers me, I think this guy is legitimate. Okay, my understanding is this guy's legitimate here because he's doing an actual analysis. He has an actual expertise on the matter. If I start trolling like Twitter, like my Twitter feed for combat footage, I'm not a military professional. I don't give any interesting information. If I start trolling my Twitter feed for combat footage, I'm adding nothing to the conversation except indulging in your like Schadenfreude for like war footage. That's kind of more what I was trying to say, and why I feel like this video is different. If you disagree, feel free to tell me why. I won't take it badly, but yeah, that's my justification. It's also the issue with current events. We cannot fully cover it. Like at some point on the Lip Praxis podcast, we were talking about the Beijing Olympics meme, and I kind of cut that off because it's useless to talk about it if we don't know. Oh yeah. The comment footage in that video is also like 5% of the total video. Yeah, it's just there to support some arguments. Yeah. His analysis was that the Russians are learning. Yes, human beings can learn from their mistakes.
With no context at all, and then trying to monetize the followers by posting advertisements, sometimes for OnlyFans creators. And the same with YouTube as well. Officials in the US
all this just to say,
are now discussing restrictions.
I feel uncomfortable like doing full-on war footage
on platforms like YouTube. So what can we believe out here? And undoubtedly, there's going to be a narrative, a bias against Russia because, hey, historically we fought against Russia in the World War.
For me personally, the army versus army clips I don't gain anything from, but clips from a civilian perspective can give me something, I think. Yeah, I agree. As well. Well, because we're civilians. Well, a clip showing what happens with civilians is definitely something we can understand. If you want to do some real journalism, can you figure out if the task and purpose YouTube is related to the task and purpose website? I don't know what you're talking about. Soap is saying it is. Task and Purpose is a website with a bunch of different departments, I guess you'd call it, and Chris Cappy runs the YouTube department. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. Anyways, back to the video.
War II, that was the West versus Russia, the Cold War. But did you know that Ukraine also supported Hitler? Like, there's this thread of neo-Nazism within Ukraine, and so Putin's claim is that he's trying to denazify
Ukraine supported Hitler.
Now, whether this is true or not is something people are still debating. It may be political propaganda as well here, but what are people really trying to fight for?
It may be political propaganda here. And, you know, people are debating it. It's kind of like earlier. People are debating it. There's disagreements on both sides. So, you know, doesn't matter. That's what we learned earlier. It doesn't matter if there are both sides to something, then we cannot ascertain what the truth is. It doesn't exist anymore. Arcturix, that's a $300 jacket, Pog. Task and Purpose is the channel name of that soldier guy. Oh, okay. RIP. Task and Purpose. Oh, yeah. Okay. My bad. We all knew it would get back to Hitler. Well, in the history of Ukraine, there is a bit of truth to that. Read about Stepan Bandera. Yes. No, I'm not denying that. Of course, there. Of course, there's truth to there being like Nazi sympathies in Ukraine historically. It's just by the same argument. By the same argument, like France collaborated with Nazi Germany to a much larger extent than most European countries. Like, but that doesn't make present day France like that doesn't mean that France supports Hitler. It's just his phrasing. His phrasing here is really disingenuous. Like,
Putin's claim is that he's trying to denazify Russia, the Cold War. But did you know that Ukraine also supported Hitler? Like,
did you know that Ukraine supported Hitler? When we're talking about 2022 invasion of Ukraine, it's a very, very loaded way of presenting it. So I'm maybe being a bit reactionary, but I'm pushing back. I wouldn't even say it's true. It's like saying, of course, the U.S. supported Hitler because Henry Ford. Well, that's why I'm talking about France as well. Like, France actually capitulated and created a collaborative government with Nazi Germany. France is the worst fucking example for this. We would totally have taken the Germans over the Reds, and we weren't alone in this. Yes, that's something I've mentioned several times as well on stream. For a lot of people in Eastern Europe, especially if you weren't Jewish or Romani or homosexual, and honestly, it's not like the USSR didn't commit their own crimes in those regards.
And I could be in pain. And
thanks for the follow, Idaho.
Like spitting my lungs out.
Yes, in Eastern Europe, a lot of people preferred the German army to the Red Army. We've discussed the different reasons for that as well. Yeah, there isn't a single seat in the parliament occupied by that neo-Nazi party in Ukraine. Yeah.
This thread of neo-Nazism within Ukraine, and so Putin's claim is that he's trying to denazify Ukraine. Now, whether this is true or not is something people are still debating. It may be political propaganda as well here, but what are people really trying to fight for here? Now, it's very difficult to understand this, especially as an American myself. I don't even know where these countries are, but my understanding is that Putin had always viewed Russia and Ukraine as a single country. He would like to unify these countries into a single whole because fundamentally he believes Ukraine to be an illegitimate government originally belonging as a part of Russia back in the 1900s. Not to mention, he doesn't want NATO coming into the mix. Like, Ukraine was trying to join NATO, and the idea is that if you attack a single NATO country, then you attack all of them. And
have you seen the vid above? He's worse than Tech Lead. I guess we're going down the cringe rabbit hole. I'll check it out after, Idaho. By the way, Azov is like 2,000 people, an army that's 200k big. Yeah, I saw Destiny bring that point up to Haz. Putin wants to denazify the Jewish president. Yeah, to be fair, like I do that argument too if I get into like some Twitter argument with someone who's pro-Russian or whatever. To be fair, you can actually be like a horrible xenophobic person and also be Jewish. Fucking Zemmour in France is Jewish, and he's like a horrible far right politician. But yeah.
Back in the 1900s. Not to mention, he doesn't want NATO coming into the mix. Like, Ukraine was trying to join NATO, and the idea is that if you attack a single NATO country, then you attack all of them. And Russia kept saying, just be a neutral country, stop trying to join NATO. And
so this is also completely misrepresenting the geopolitics around Ukraine. Ukraine was not a neutral country. Ukraine was a pro-Russian country. Then the Maidan coup happened. And a pro-Western government got put in place. That pro-Western government did not have aspirations of joining NATO. It had aspirations of joining the European Union. And it's only once Russia violated the sovereignty of that nation through the operation in Crimea that then Ukraine was favorable to NATO, because NATO was going to be the only thing stopping further aggression from Russia. The crux of the neutral in terms of military alliance, though, well, yeah. And yes, neutrality isn't on the table anymore because they cannot trust Russia. Yeah, I wonder about that. The latest articles I read about the ongoing negotiations with Russia, did you see that statement from Ukraine saying that they don't want to join NATO anymore? I feel like that statement is basically a signal to Russia of like, this is a concession we're willing to make. Now, please, let's actually put realistic conditions on the table for the negotiation table. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I saw that, Andrew. The topless women in Ukraine. It's a feminist group in France called Femen who like to protest with topless with their boobs out. And the reason why they're protesting for Ukraine is that originally the Femen was an organization founded by Ukrainian immigrants in France. The women who founded it are Ukrainian. It's originally a Ukrainian organization. That's why even though it's mostly a feminist organization, they also feel strongly about the Ukraine war. Also, I'm pretty sure it would be TOS on Twitch to watch that video, Andrew.
Ukraine kept trying to join them, so Russia said,
"Oh, actually, it's body painting. If it's body painting, I can show it, right? It's a bit iffy. Anyways,
they didn't want
it's
an
blurred.
enemy
Okay.
on his doorsteps. And so Putin's fear is, let's imagine Ukraine is a NATO member and starts these military operations. In Putin's eyes, the West promised back in 1990 that NATO would not expand an inch to the east, but they did so anyways. And as I understand,
they don't have
Putin
pasties
has
on. No,
been
their nipples are out.
ideological in his approach, in which it seems like he's trying to protect Russian culture, peoples, and values, even those people within Ukraine. And so parts of Ukraine, especially
Oh God, the West didn't promise that. The US did. True. That is true. All right. Good night, Damdanet. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Also, oh my God, he's like pretending he's doing both sides, and then he just chills the most hardline pro-Russian narrative of the Russian people in eastern Ukraine and all that stuff.
those on the eastern side have actually wanted to belong into Russia, and they support Russia, like the territory of Crimea, voluntarily escaped from Ukraine and separated, becoming a part of Russia, annexed in 2014. And there's these other territories on the eastern side that also are trying to do the same thing. And so, as Putin states, Ukraine is not just a neighboring country for us, it is an inalienable part of our...
Now, also, just to nuance this a bit, at the end of the day, there is a kernel of truth to it. The Crimean population has, ever since before the fall of the USSR, wanted to be an autonomous region, closer to the USSR. Then post fall of the USSR, they want to be autonomous. So like there was a legitimate separatist sentiment in Crimea. I haven't found like before the faked referendum in 2014. I mean, that being said, I have yet to do the same research about the Donbas region. I'm not sure if that one's as legit as the Crimean one. And in any case, that doesn't justify annexation. Like annexation is a huge breach of sovereignty. Also Donetsk and Lugansk. Yeah, I said Donbas region. Like that kind of encompasses both of them. But I don't know. I haven't looked into the polls of the like 90s and early 2000s and referendums in those regions to see if it's the same as in Crimea. But Western region is really anti-Russian. Yeah. Ask all the Russian people in Kharkiv if their Russian culture and heritage is being preserved right now. Yeah.
Own history, culture, and spiritual space. Since time immemorial, the people living in the southwest of what has historically been Russian land have called themselves Russians. What we now call Ukraine, he says, was entirely created by Russia. It is intolerable to Putin because the Ukrainian government seeks to legitimate itself by creating conflict with Russia, both oppressing its native Russian speakers and menacing Russia's borders. And so in his view, the collapse of the Soviet Union was a major political
Yeah, you know, Ukraine was a really big threat to Russian borders. I think we can all agree that Ukraine was planning to invade Russia, march up to Moscow, and decapitate the Kremlin government, replaced with a pro-Ukrainian government, in order to prevent Russia from joining NATO. I think that was Ukraine's plan, and obviously Russia acted in self-defense there.
With tens of millions of their citizens now outside of Russian territory. So
Ukraine was seeking revenge for Hitler's loss. Oh god. Now this guy's just running through the simpleton playbook about justification. Yeah, literally just going point by point the Russian talking points.
That's their view, but what's going on with Ukraine? Well, Putin has called for Ukraine to just surrender. Nobody has to die, right? No one has to die at all, just surrender. That's it. No blood needs
just
to be
surrender,
shed.
forehead.
Nobody has to die. You know, as they say, an argument requires two sides in order to start an argument. However, Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, has forced its own citizens to fight, right? They say,
yeah, you know, this guy is so fucking big brain. This is the solution to peace in the world. Whenever one country invades another country, just surrender. Just surrender every time there's any kind of conflict, and no one will ever die again. How fucking big brain. What a smart guy. This is the most brilliant political analysis I've ever heard.
That any man aged 18 to 60 cannot leave the country. You have to stay and fight. Why? Because the number one target is Zelensky himself. So we
already covered this. This guy doesn't understand what a draft is.
Protect himself. If he were to just give himself up, maybe they could stop the conflict. You know, Zelensky. And by the way, I don't know who any of these people are, but he seems to be some...
How do we know that the West is telling the truth? We don't. In fact, we can generally assume, if all you're consuming is Western media, you can generally assume that you've consumed a large amount of propaganda. That's just common sense.
Comedian actor. He was in entertainment as a prior career, and he's very good at propaganda. Like, he's using all of these words about evil, tyranny, oppression. He says here, we are all here, our soldiers are here defending our independence. Whereas most people, I don't even know if people care about their own independence. They just want a good life. Many people want to escape the country, right? And he's not letting them leave. He says, you stay here, you fight for your independence. People don't want to fight for that. They just want to go out and have a better life. And so here's how I see it. I believe there's actually three sides to this war. You've got the Russians, you've got the Ukrainians, and then you've got the people of Ukraine who are actually suffering on the ground. And if you want to support...
Okay, so I like how this implies that Russians and Ukrainians aren't people. just logically.
Ukraine,
okay.
Then you support Ukraine's right to just militarize its own people, to force them to fight, to conscript them into a draft, to take away their freedoms, and to force people to be doing something they don't even really want to do. If you support Russia, then well, fine, you support Russia. But I would rather support the people of Ukraine, their liberties, for them to just live a better life. So which side is that? I support...
This is why I am neutral. Both sides are lying. I don't want to be mean, but that's kind of a dumb point of view too. Just because there's propaganda and lies on both sides doesn't mean that you cannot see That doesn't mean that you cannot reason or ascertain specific wrongs or rights. Especially, like, American history has done much worse over the years. Yes, you can be against what Russia is doing and still be against what the US has done. Those are not incoherent positions. Just because you hate what the US has done doesn't mean that you have to suddenly support a brutal dictator invading and violating the sovereignty of a neighboring nation. The fact that people think being anti-American means you have to be pro-Putin is mind-boggling to me. Please don't succumb to that. We can all be smarter than that. Have you seen the videos of how they brought those fake-ass mayors in the cities they captured? Also, they tried to do fake-ass gatherings to suggest that people were liberated from the Nazis. And all the mayors Russia have brought into Ukrainian cities are women, and they started giving interviews like how now the people will have access to Russian media, so now they will have access to real information. I have not seen that, no. I saw that they replaced the mayor in Melitopol, I think, and then there was an exchange of prisoners of war for the original mayor. Are you unaware about this guy? Or I knew this guy. I just didn't know he was gonna have a fucking political opinion on the Ukraine war. I thought he was limited to bullshit like business and crypto stuff. I want to protect the liberties of Ukrainians. They should just surrender to Russia. Yeah. I understand the propaganda stuff, but the both sides science is such a dumb argument. The church claimed the earth was the center of the universe. Science disagreed. And this guy would be like, since the church and science disagrees, the earth is probably kind of the center of the universe. Yeah, exactly. Bridge burning time, baby. What bridge am I burning, Decoy? What would America do if Mexico joined a military alliance with Russia? Playing devil's advocate, I suspect they go into Mexico. No, but also Ukraine wasn't going to join a military alliance with Russia. You're like skewing the timetable. The guy you watching on his podcast. No? Oh, you think this is Jay Chou live? No, this is not Jay Chou. This is not Chou, dude. Oh no, he. I'll need to tell that to Chou. Oh shit. Anyways, to respond to your point, an actual equivalent would be, say Mexico wants to enter a trade agreement with like China and Russia. In response to joining a trade agreement, wanting to join a trade agreement, the US forms a separatist movement in Mexico and then annexes a part of Mexico, and then forms another separatist movement in another region, in order to keep Mexico unstable and unable of committing to any agreements. That's what happened to Ukraine. The wanting to join the military alliance happened after its sovereignty was violated in Crimea. You know this isn't Chou because he hasn't said Russia is just a small regional power anyway. Good one.
The people of Ukraine to have a peaceful life. I don't support the idea of forcing them to fight, to die for their own countries when they don't even want to fight themselves. They just want to leave. And so I think we just need to be aware of the propaganda that is truly at play here. Ukraine's President Zelensky would like you to believe that there's only two options. You either surrender or you fight Russia. What about leaving? Can we just leave this whole thing? Can we just leave the country? No, you can't leave. Why not? Because he's got money, maybe money and power tied up within the Ukrainian government, and he's trying to throw his own citizens as sheep to slaughter in order to save himself.
And we finished on the Hunter Biden.
Perhaps the real narrative.
Let's go.
Between two dictators clinging on to power.
Close it off with the Hunter Biden reference. Nice. Biden has money in Ukraine. Let's go.
I'll see you there. If you liked the video, give a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.
And then, so sorry I was wrong. Ukraine, Russia. Or he's like an inside joke of the coding community, intentionally doing 180 on every topic, like trashing crypto for a while, then selling NFTs and making his own currency. I see. I just find it strange how NATO is basically surrounding Russia. Ukraine is a massive red line. It's not a massive red line, but yes, NATO was an anti-USSR alliance. There's no denying that. NATO was literally an anti-USSR alliance. But until the tensions mounted in the past few years because of what Russia did in Ukraine, NATO was not an anti-Russian organization. There is no way in hell that NATO bases are a threat to Russian sovereignty and self-determination. And now NATO is an anti-Russian alliance because of what Russia did. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I don't look at the situation now and think like, oh wow, NATO's fucked up. I think like, wow, Russia created their own enemy. I don't know how you can say that. Russia's afraid of missiles. Why? Why would Russia be afraid of missiles? First off, no NATO country past Germany has nukes. Okay? Germany had nukes already in the Cold War, and NATO never put any nukes any farther in closer to Russia. Secondly, the NATO bases, they aren't gonna be able, they aren't gonna bomb Russia. If they bomb Russia, Russia bombs the US back. We're literally in a mutually assured destruction scenario. It doesn't actually matter.